it's also an experience for the students of anthropology, because all the students hopefully are from the anthropology program. It's the whole idea is to not only give you experience in the classroom teaching of looking at the slides and listening to your teachers, but also opening up your experience with other faculty members from home and abroad who can talk about practical things about anthropology and the whole creation of knowledge as a whole. Okay. With that note, let's welcome. I welcome all of you to this initial launching of the Anthropology Talks.
It is my honor to ask Professor Muhammad Rizwan Islam, the Dean of the School of Social Science and Humanities and Social Sciences, for a few words.
Is a landmark for our new program, and I was really pleasantly surprised to receive an email, I think at around 9:30 or so last evening, that somebody wanted to join. So that shows how enthusiastic our students are about this topic, and that also perhaps shows how successful colleagues like Bulul Bhai, Dr. Batin Bhai and others, their colleagues from the anthropology stream, they are in popularizing their subject. Although maybe popularity and academia sometimes may have a bit complex relationship, but they seem to have been successful in garnering sufficient interest in the topic. Now, as I have already sort of implied my ignorance on the topic, and I haven't read the paper, I haven't read the abstract, so it will be very perhaps way off the mark, but nonetheless, if we ask how we conduct our day-to-day activities when it comes to our calendar, what kind of calendar do we follow? If we talk about even 21st February, we would rarely say Ati Falgun. Yeah. We would rather say 21st February, although maybe it could have been or it should have been the other way around. Again, when it comes to some of our religious practices, Eid and other festivals, we would look to the Hijri calendar. Then if we talk about certain agricultural activities, the way Akbar started a new calendar, that also tells us something about how calendar has something more to it than may apparently be clear.
In a global South context, particularly in an urban context. And I just put one poster that was done in South Africa. We did it in Oxford, Sussex, many other places. And every time I did a talk, everyone was so impressed by the way our Bangladeshi students were presenting in those talks. They were very, very impressed. And one of them is right now. I'm so happy to see Emma here. With that said, when we published that piece that came out in Time and Society, that article, Shomyscapes, because we felt like the concepts that were used to understand time in academic life from the global north did not make sense or was missing something. So we had to come up with a concept, and we came up with this hybrid concept of Shomyscapes. And that piece won an award. And I'm sharing this because we could have not achieved that without the number of people as well as Emma and others who were part of that project and who contributed to that piece. So I wanted to acknowledge Emma, and thanks Emma, and you have a lovely gem in your faculty having Emma here. The other person I want to acknowledge is my colleague, I call her my sister colleague, Dr. Kirsten Edwards, who's a professor and chair at Florida International University, who is a co-author of the book that what I'm presenting today is from a forthcoming book that's coming out next spring in 2027, where we co-authored a book called White Time, Revealing a Chronopolitics of Being, which will come out next spring with University of Minnesota Press. And so today what I'm going to do is share one chapter from that book. The chapter is entitled Clock Time is White Time. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to kind of define what I mean by clock time versus white time, right? Now, by clock time, I'm not referring to clocks in itself. I'm talking to the kind of temporal regime, the way we understand and make sense of time in relation to time-keeping instruments that we use. One is the Gregorian calendar, and the other is the Western mechanical clock. Clocks were everywhere.
Charan means where you move. That's why our legs are called charan, because they move. Anyway, this accidental or incidental discovery led to the discovery of the savage races. That's the French one. Claude Lévi-Strauss's famous book, published in 1962, in which he entered into a polemic with Sartre, is called La Pensée Sauvage. It was mistranslated into English. Translation is another problem, white problem. They call it savage mind. But then a new translation appeared a couple of years ago. Now it is called the wild thinking. Pensée sauvage. So nowadays, the way we are presenting, this would appear in the ears of our friends as wild thinking, the question of time. So let me refer to you the article by our great man. What is his name? Yes. This is a classic article. Everybody knows it. This man is E.P. Thompson. His father, Thompson, was here. He was Rabindranath's friend. This man, the making of the English working class. This article, published in the journal, I will just read one reference. How English literature accepted this problem of industrial discipline and time, and how it has been inserted into the vocabulary of the language as well as of our perception of wartime. And now see the great philosophical treatises of, say, Martin Heidegger. It's called Being and Time, Sein und Zeit. And this had been retranslated, shifted into French by Being and Nothingness.
Our context, if you say that, like we have ethnographic methodology that also use like, seasonal calendar and all that. So does it have to do with the white time? And I'm sure you used Protestant ethics in the spirit of capitalism, right? So, and Sartre said, what the Karl Marx is called the anthropologist, we call it founders of modern social thought. So Weber and Karl Marx.
I mean, it's colonial, it's a very imperial. My question is, do you find any gender element in the time? The book that's coming out soon, does it have any chapter on gender and how time is kind of?
What I'm arguing here is that white time creates homochronism. There's one way of representing and understanding time. Decolonizing time means polochronism. In other words, to understand and embrace the polarity of time. Body clocks are very powerful clocks. They're regulated by circadian rhythms. They have cell division. So going back to the only problem with neuroscience is they're using clock time again to evaluate everything. They don't ask the fundamental question. But depending on where your body is, your tissues are going to have different cycles based on your muscles and so forth. So that is not part of white time. White time erases or doesn't even acknowledge that it exists. But we experience it. Just like you said, as you shift from one time zone to another, your body has to the body has to adopt, right? Yeah. The same thing could be said for women in menstrual cycles, how it shifts your embodiment. So the point I'm trying to make is white time negates all these forms of time because they're considered to be embodied.